Last year, the Magnum photographer Carl de Keyzer announced the release of his new book, focusing on Russia, Putin's Dream. What could have been an exciting news for the photography world, the release of a book focusing on the same subject as his most acclaimed work, Homo Sovieticus in 1989 and Zona in 2003, quickly turned into a backlash. The reason for that is very simple. Contrarily to his previous works, this book did not contain real photographs, but it contained AI-generated images. The post was announced on his Instagram in the following way.
Afterquote, Inc. 2. My plan was to revisit the new Russia under Putin 20 years after Zona and 20 years after Homo Sovieticus. But as you know, COVID-19 happened, so no deal. A year later, January 2022, with everything in order to start, things lined up at the border and 3 days before the war broke out, I decided not to leave. Since then, no excess. Last year, I caught my attention and I decided to try and make a virtual trip with the help of AI. Well aware of the pitfalls and risks, I gave this new tool a chance.
Soon after it was posted, the almost exclusively negative reactions in the comments led to the posts being deleted. The photography populace's criticism mostly focused on the fact that AI is evil, it is here to replace photographers, and it's a betrayal to be a Magnum photographer, a photojournalist, and to release a book that is created with the use of this evil technology. It is very clear that the general impression of photographers regarding AI image generating tools is to welcome them with fear, distrust, and sometimes hate. But in this video, I want to discuss a point that I thought about and that might change your viewpoint on AI image generating tool. I believe that they allow us to underline the importance of photography of the real. I'm sorry to interrupt you in this very interesting video, but please note that I released the zine recently, Zurich Files Volume 1 Water. It's available on my website, you will find more information there. Please also be aware that there is a digital version available that costs the price of a coffee approximately. I would really appreciate if you support me by getting the zine, and I'm looking forward to hear your feedback on it. If you are someone whose photography's end goal is commercial, and mostly if you are doing product photography or corporate headshots, then I think that for you, the future seems dull. And I would even advise you to hand out your CV to your local fast food. So now the question is, will street photographers and documentary photographers also need to flip burgers to make a living? Well, most of them already do. On a serious note, we can ask ourselves if it will still be worth it for photographers of the real to go out in the streets, often facing negative reactions.
Don't take my pictures.
If the photography you achieve in the outside world can easily be replicated using AI, sometimes achieving results that might even be more pleasant. Well, I believe it's still worth it, and I believe that the fast evolution of AI technologies can help us pinpoint why it is still worth it and important to shoot reality. To understand how street and documentary photography can survive the AI tsunami and even be empowered by it, one must look at the value that a real image has that is lacking from an AI-generated image. So we are on the lookout for a value that is specific to images of the real. And to find it, we must simply investigate which values does an image of the real have. The first one that we might think of is aesthetic value, the fact that an image is beautiful. But this aesthetic value is not exclusive to images of the real. I'm sorry for AI images haters, but they can sometimes be beautiful, as you can see here. So this aesthetic value alone cannot justify the fact that an interest for street photography and documentary photography will remain. We must find another value. The other value that images of the real have is the epistemic value. In other words, the fact that an image can teach us something. So as an example of an epistemic value, I have here the book Last Call from Harry Gruyer, which contains images of airports. It therefore teaches us about how airports looked like at a certain point in time, and most of those images also have an aesthetic value. But as you can guess it, the images in this book can probably be perfectly reproduced, or similar images might be created by an AI tool by analyzing Harry Gruyer's style and by analyzing images of airports at a certain epoch. Those two values, epistemic and aesthetic, are therefore not sufficient to distinguish the value ascribed to AI-generated images to the value ascribed to real images. If we want to provide a rationale that preserves images of the real's importance in the age of AI-generated images, we must find this specific value. So what can it be now that we have eliminated aesthetic value and epistemic value as the candidates? Well, as you have probably seen it, I'm trying to be positive in this video and I believe that I found the value that fits the bill. But to explain this value, I must first try to define what is a photographic image. And I'm not trying to flex, but I believe that my definition of a photographic image is the best one that has ever been expressed. I'm actually trying to flex, I'm sorry, I'm trying to flex. Here is this definition. A photographic image is the result of a relationship between a physical reality, a device used to visually record this physical reality in a single frame, and the photographer present in that physical reality operating the said device. This way of describing the photographic image as the result of a relationship allows us to say that the nature of this relationship plays an important role in the value of the image. What a specific photographer makes out of a specific physical reality, how they carve something out of a precise temporality and physical reality, and how they freeze it into a single frame, are perhaps more important than any epistemic or aesthetic value. This value that I will call the relational value is what distinguishes the street photographer that strolls through the street for hours from the AI nerd. So as you can now understand it, this relational value is the value that is specific to images of the real. There is an importance of what a photographer does of the reality that he is evolving in. And that's what we value in photography of the real. And now you might also understand why I said that commercial genres of photography are more at risk from the AI threat. Simply because in those images, the reality is not left untouched. There is a sense of fakeness. There is not a genuine relationship between the photographer and the reality. So that's why I say that the value of an image of the real is relational. The nature of the relationship between a photographer and its physical reality is what empowers street photography and documentary photography. It is what makes it so magical. And now if we go back to Carl de Keyzer's book project, the reason behind the intrusion of the people commenting negatively on his Instagram post is very clear: the lack of relational value. The images in Carl de Keyzer's book use photography codes, but present something that is not extracted from reality. But now you might ask me what made me change my mind, because I told you at the start that in the end, I still like this book. The reason is that when I was going to one of my favorite bookshops, I found the book Putin's Dream on the desk of the shopkeeper. I was already working on this video and I was planning to talk negatively about this book that I had not even seen in its entirety. And then when I opened the book, something struck me. Until then, I had treated this book as any other photography book. But I was wrong. This is not a photography book. This is not photography. It is another form of art. Of course, it doesn't possess this relational value that I explained before. But this lack of relational value is compensated by other things. In the case of Carl de Keyzer's book, the value that I identified is the fact that it is future-oriented. By using photography codes, Carl de Keyzer presents us what a photographic documentary could look like in the Russia of the future. Of course, this future is subjective and it is an interpretation of what Putin wishes to make in Russia. And this brings me to the value that this book has. It is future-oriented. It forces us to ask ourselves questions of what the future of a specific location will look like, of how we can maybe avoid it to look like that, and of how we would like it to look like. So there is a specific value that I identify in AI images, which is hard to do with photography, in the fact that AI images allow to create possible worlds. Another project, and it's actually the project that changed my mind about AI images, I initially had a bad opinion about such images, is the project New Farmer by Bruce Isley. In this project, he imagines what the world would look like if instead of maximizing vegetable species productivity, we try to maximize their sizes. By doing this, and by using the absurdity of those images showing giant vegetables, Bruce Isley manages to transmit a strong criticism of the Green Revolution and of the fact that we lost many species of vegetables due to the genetic selection. So instead of bashing AI, I believe photographers of the real and the people that enjoys it should simply embrace it as a new type of art form that allows different explorations than the ones allowed by the photographic medium. To conclude this video, I would say that
AI is a positive thing for photography, as it helps go back to what should be its motto, freezing an unaltered reality, while chopping off its vices, the commercial use of images capturing a staged reality.